Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam on this Mental Health Monday. You can catch, we're powered by the OBBM network, and you can catch us on all your live streaming platforms. And just like, share, subscribe. You don't know how much you're going to be making a difference with the stories and the journeys that you're going to hear through our podcast. Welcome, Sam. How's things going?
Everything is going great. And hey, we are part of the Spreely family of podcasts now. So however you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Just search A Badge of Honor. And we're right there. Take us on the go. Thanks for listening. And yeah, we've got a lot of news going on. John, you you kind of did an intro. It was all over the news last week. The NYPD officer that was arrested, charged in doing his duties, stopping a fleeing felon after a drug buy in an unconventional way, but a very, very, very non-threatening, non-lethal way. And unfortunately, in that stop, the perp fell and hit his head and died. And the judge found it so that to toss him in jail. But he is out. And so just give us an update on what's going on there.
Yeah, today they raised the funds. It was a pretty heavy bond for this officer. It was $300,000. I'm glad they were able to get him released on the bond. So he'll be out with his family until they appeal this decision. And if anybody has been following it, and like when you said, Sam, it's an unconventional way to stop a perp, but there's been protesters out there saying that they want this officer in jail, and not that this kid was a drug dealer and he was fleeing the police officer. They don't care about the criminal, but once again, we're going after the officer, and this sets a bad precedent for. Say a car pursuit, you pit maneuver somebody and they crash into a pole, or if you tackle a perp and they hit their head, what's the difference? Yes, it's tragic. It's tragic that that person lost their life, but if they weren't committing that crime, they wouldn't have lost their life. If they were obeying the rules, if they were told, did what they were told, they wouldn't have lost their lives. They contributed to their death, not the officer. The officer was doing his job in the line of duty. He was stopping a fleeing felon. And for this judge to put such a heavy sentence on him and a heavy bond is really going to be, it's a bad precedent that this judge is doing. But it doesn't surprise me in New York with all these liberal left-wing judges.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just have to look at some of the cities that have even said, oh, we're not going to even do car chases anymore. I mean, it's like, really?
That's what you're going to have. And it's sad to say because
it's happening. It's happening, partner. Where
we have great cops out there that want to do the job. Yeah. We have great cops out there that want to do the job, and they're being handcuffed. And it's a scary aspect. When you're in a job, and I'm sure our guests will tell you as well when we bring Pete on. The one thing you don't want to do is have to second guess yourself. You have a split second or to make a decision, right? No other job is like that where you have a split second.
Train.
Right. So when you make that, if you have to second guess yourself, you're the one that's going to be killed. You're the one that's going to be shot. If an officer is scared to pull the trigger in a violent situation or scared to take action, he could lose his life. So, once again, any life lost is a tragedy, but he didn't place that kid in that position. That kid placed himself in that position. And Absolutely. My heart still goes out to the family for, they lost a son. But I'm on the side of NYPD. I'm on the side of the police officer. He did what he was supposed to do. He stopped a fleeing felon. Who knows what that kid would have did after he took off or he got away. He could have carjacked somebody, killed
with
somebody.
non-lethal force.
That's
he
right.
stopped him with non-lethal force, and in the course of that,
the cooler didn't kill the kid.
did.
The cooler didn't kill the kid. The crash killed the kid.
Yeah. And
so
yeah, exactly. You know, our guest tonight he's coming back on to tell his story because it is he's got over 2 decades of service in the police department, and he's seen a lot. And with that has come a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff with family, the need and the understanding. He went on to be peer support, crisis intervention, and a real understanding of the toll that this job can have on officers that stay a really long time. And so without further ado, let's welcome back Officer Pete Elste to A Badge of Honor TV. Welcome back, Pete.
Nice to see you again, Pete. Sam, John, great to see you.
Thanks for being with us. Hey, before we dive deep into the topic of hand, please tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app a little bit about you and your background.
Background is I grew up in New York, in Queens, in Maspeth or Middle Village, whatever you call it. In the 104 precinct. And,
that's exactly where that whole meetup was. That was the big topic today, the 104 precinct.
Yeah. It was, 69th Street in Grand.
Yeah.
That's where the meetup was. Became NYPD officer, worked in the 73rd precinct in Brownsville, Brooklyn for 4 years. Since that, I moved up to Danbury, Connecticut, where I got married. My daughter was born. My son was born. Stayed in Danbury, Connecticut, became a police officer there. I've been a police officer there now 23 years.
Wow.
So 27 years of service. And like you said, there's a lot that goes with that. You see a lot. You try to push everything into one box or bucket or whatever you want to call it. Listen, I wouldn't change becoming an NYPD officer. I learned a lot. I learned very quickly how to become a police officer in Brownsville.
In 7-3 precinct. I was in a 7-7, so I was right next door to you.
Yeah.
You in 4 years in the 7-3, you're learning a 30-year career in some places.
Yeah, I mean, when those guys came down, internal affairs, and the lieutenant came down from Danbury to Brownsville, they were like, "Wow," he goes, 4 years here is like 15 years in Danbury, and rightfully so. It's definitely a little bit different up here. My old partner Pat Cherry, he's a sergeant now in Manhattan. I miss him. I keep in contact with him. We probably would have went the same path. We both did street narcotics and anti-crime together, and then I left the department, and then I came up here. I set some goals up here. And back then you were allowed as a police officer to be a dispatcher. So I said, you know what? I want to know those guys need me on the radio to let them know that I know what they need and they get it very quickly. It's the same mindset. The civilians do a great job now. We have some great dispatchers. And then I said another goal is to be a field training officer because I wanted to train these new people, the new recruits and stuff, how we do it on the street and what we need and what it means to be a team and a family. And then I became, I wanted to do ESU in New York, but we know there you need a hook, you need some juice. But up here, I did it. I was a sniper. I was an entry team guy for 12 years, and then retired from there. And I jumped on to crisis intervention. Somebody thought I would be good at dealing with mental health on the street, and I became what they call me, the something ghost whisperer or something like that. The crazy whisperer. That's what it was. It just seemed that those, the mental health, I had a knack for it. People connected with me, de-escalated a lot of situations and stuff like that. And then slowly after becoming a crisis coordinator, I went into peer support, started seeing, because of my journey with addiction and with alcoholism and what I was going through, the traumas from the beginning of my career to now, I wanted to make sure that the future of police officers and first responders know that there is help out there. Know that they're not alone. You see the sweatshirt that says, "Are you okay?" This is from 2 NYPD officers. They made this company. Are you okay? There's nothing wrong with us asking each other that and offering that help. So
absolutely,
that's why I got into peer support.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about that because we've talked about peer support before on the show, and we've had a lot of guests. But what we find is some departments, they just operate differently, and I think we're always a fan of hearing about how you operate in your peer support program, so that people listening can take it back to their department and say, "Hey, this is a great idea. Can we implement this?" We all learn from each other. So we're going to take our first quick break, and we will come back and continue our conversation with Officer Pete Elste. Stay tuned, everybody.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% US-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
Hey, you can make an impact every time you use your cell phone, because when you sign up for Patriot Mobile, yay, not only do you get a free month of service when you use promo code BADGE, but your money goes where your values are, because Patriot Mobile supports our first responders, our veterans, and it does go a long way. So if you didn't scan the QR code that was on the screen a minute ago, that's okay. You can call 972-PATRIOT. And just use promo code. I'll put it up on the screen here. Use promo code BADGE for a free month of service. That means you get to try it. If you don't like it, it's not working, just call them back and you can switch back to the big 3. If you want to make an appointment, you could go to patriotmobile.com/badge. It'll take you to our landing page, fill out the information, and a member from Patriot Mobile's team will call you back and get you signed up. And you know what the best part is? If you're a first responder, you get a discount, and every single family member on the plan gets a discount as well. That's how much they care about us and what we do. So again, 972-PATRIOT, promo code BADGE, or patriotmobile.com/badge. Get your free month. Try them now. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam with our guest officer, Pete Elste. Pete was an NYPD officer in the 7-3 precinct and then transitioned over to Danbury. Pete, we were talking about your journey and the peer support and the mental health aspect you're bringing over into your department. When you were in the NYPD, when you were in the 7-3, what years were you there about?
2000 to 2003 through 2004.
Okay. Back then, I just retired in 2000, so we didn't have much peer support back then. It was the 4 to 4s. Mm-hmm. It was you had a bad night, you would hit the local bar at get off work at 11, you'd be at the bar by 12. You're walking out of there at 4 a.m, which that was the culture. That was the norm. And we are learning how much damage that has done to our officers over those years. And I'm glad to see that you brought, or people are feeling comfortable enough with you to be the peer support coordinator and opening up to you, because vulnerability and trust is a big thing when it comes to peer support within a department.
Yeah, back then, like you said, when you retired and stuff like that, and I was just getting on the job. I remember walking into Queens College, raising my hand at 7 a.m, and one guy goes, "Oh, you're going to make this X amount of money," and whatever it was, $32,000 or $40,000, and you see people stand up and walk out, and then the next person that came up to explain something about the job was, hey, if you have any issues, don't go talk to EAP because they'll take your gun and badge. That's what I remembered. I remembered that. And I remembered that all the way up until I got up to Danbury. It was always, be careful what you say around the administration. They don't believe in you. They're out to get you. It's all a lot of negativity. Don't call EAP. It was, hey, after work, meet us at the park, bring your own stuff, and then we'll hash it out that way, or we go to the bar and stuff like that. I did it down in Brownsville. Me and my partner, we used to go out. We used to go to a bar, like you said. We worked 4 to 12s, and then we walk into the bar. We went to the same bar all the time. That the bartender would be like, "Hey, listen, I'm cutting out early. Here are the keys. Lock up. Just write down what you drank." Well, back then we were drinking bottles, and we marked down the bottles. We were like, "Why are we drinking bottles? Drink off the tap. They can't count the tap." But you were right. That's what it was. You would just meet up and do the 4 to 4s, or what they called quiet practice. And we did it up here in Danbury many, many, many years ago. And that was the norm. That was our therapy. But now it's,
When did you realize that therapy wasn't working for you?
So, I mean, we're going to skip through a lot. There's multiple traumas from growing up, family, to the job. And the job started in Brownsville. Getting shot at the first time is a trauma. Seeing a baby, an infant getting chewed up by a pit bull is a trauma. 9/11 was a big trauma. Other incidences that you see, stabbings and stuff that you would see in Brownsville, Brooklyn. I started to see it up here. I'm just going to go through some of the traumas up here. I seen a 14-year-old girl. She hung herself in the shower. I had a gun pointed at my head. On one call, trying to do a crisis call. A couple of fights and major incidences up here, domestics. We had a murder-suicide in Danbury where the mom killed all 3 kids, placed them in their bed where she thought, she's like, "Oh, I'll make them look like they were sleeping," and then she hung herself in the shed. All that accumulated to me drinking. I'm talking from beginning to all the way up until I knew I needed help. I probably left out some other incidences and stuff like that, but it just affected me where I needed to feel numb. I just needed the pain to go away. It wasn't painful where, and I'm going to say this truthfully and honestly, it wasn't the pain that I was going to take my life. It was just I just had pain. I just felt bad, like I wasn't doing my job, and I used the alcohol to mask it. I had friends that told me, like, "Listen, you're drinking too much, this, that, and another thing." If we were to go out, I'd be already half in the bag. I'd be 6 drinks in already by the time I already got somewhere. It was my form of medicine, or, it was my medication, whether it was, we'll go back, Coors Light, the seltzers, then it was wine, and then it was Fireball and Jägermeister. And, it was, if I didn't feel numb, I needed to drink more.
See, that's one thing about this job that many people don't understand. I was just talking to, I just got off the phone before our show with a therapist who does a lot of stuff with family counseling. She brought up that same thing about the numbing feeling. And, the job is not like any other job in the world where you can just shut it off and turn it off like a light switch. This stuff carries over, with you when you clock out of the job. Mm-hmm. You just don't forget about the mom and the mom who killed her 3 kids, or you just don't forget about the gunfire that went over your head. It's not something that you can say, "Oh, I punched out. Now let me go be the great dad or the great husband or the family guy."
I think we lost John's audio. We lost you for a second. Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to, you can't do that. And drinking numbs that, but it becomes a crutch. Then it becomes an addiction. and then you fall so down that rabbit hole that you don't even know how to get out.
Yeah, and you talk about that rabbit hole, and I was going down it, and I was calling out sick from work. I was calling out sick from overtime jobs. What cop will give up an overtime job? Especially when you're standing at the guys that, they're putting a gas line in or whatever, and you just got to direct traffic. It's like the easiest overtime in the world. But I would take the job, and then in the morning I'd be like, "Nah, I'm not coming in," because I wanted to stay home and drink, or I haven't stopped drinking. The other, and calling out sick, guys were like, you're really calling out sick. They're watching you to this. And then the negativity came in, they got a target on your back. They're looking to get you. They're going to fire you. And that closed me in. And I was like, wow, the administration's out to get me. So, you know what? Wait a minute. Those sick days are mine. I'll do whatever I want with them. But I have to be careful because here in Danbury, after the 4th day, you have to get a doctor's note. It's not like NYPD. You call out sick, you got to go see the surgeon.
Right.
Here, you have 4 days, and on the 5th day, you can come back to work and no questions asked.
Right.
On the 5th day, if you're still sick, you got to go see a doctor.
But there, you were justifying your addiction right there.
Yeah.
When I just heard what you said. They're my sick days. I can do whatever I want with them. That's in an addict's mind. That justifies. Oh, I can if I want to get drunk on my days off, I can do that. And that's a key factor. That's a flag that just went right up.
And the other thing is, the part of it was the isolation. I was divorced. I was living on my own. I had a place to myself. I was like, it's my house. I can do whatever I want. Nobody can tell me any different. And I sat there and I drank. And when I ran out of booze, I got in the car, hungover, still drunk, went to the liquor store, played liquor store roulette. Didn't want to go to the same liquor store I went to in the morning. When I was working, I was hungover. I wasn't 100%. And I was always thinking around 12 o'clock, all right, what liquor store am I going to when I leave work? And I'm going to get out on time because I'm like 3rd senior on the road. I should be okay. Right.
Yeah. So,
and then that happened and the spiral happened and then people caught on to it. I was checked on. Actually, no, I made the phone call on one. I was with my son and I went to my ex's house and we were hanging out. My ex and my daughter went away and I knew my ex had booze in the house. So I started drinking her booze on the deck. My son was up playing video games and I'm sitting on the deck and I don't feel nothing. So I went and grabbed another bottle of wine and I started drinking that. And the next thing you know, I was like, God, I'm getting numb. And next thing you know, an arm comes over my shoulder. And that arm was my son's arm. And he grabbed the bottle of wine and he poured it out. He goes, make the call. And I made the call. Wow. I cried to my sergeant. I cried to my sergeant on the phone. My sergeant came over. He made a couple of phone calls. He says, in 2 days, you're on your way to rehab. I said, okay. And then my rehab was in Vegas, which was the first, which was the wrong place.
That's an interesting place to go for your rehab is to, we're going to leave people on the cliffhanger because rehab and Vegas normally don't go together. We will come back and get the rest of this story. We'll be back with Pete Elste. Stay tuned, everybody.
Wow.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, John, I just wanted to let everybody know that if they are wanting to get their Texas license to carry, I am doing a live class at Mr. Gunn's Range in Plano on Saturday, May 9th, we start bright and early at 9 a.m. But hey, starting your day at a range, that doesn't suck. So just go ahead and reach out through the show, and I'll get you the details. Back
9
to the
a.m.
show.
Coffee and guns. Coffee and guns.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. I want to welcome back Officer Pete Elste. Pete, when we're talking about your journey, I went to rehab in Utah. There was nothing around but, mountain, farms and animals. You went to rehab in Las Vegas, which I don't understand. I mean, that is temptation at its worst.
So listen, I love the sergeant who came to my house and said and did all the work that he did. He felt he was doing the right thing, but not knowing what I needed. And I love him for him to this day. But going to Vegas, the first thing I come off, I go, my kids and my ex dropped me off at the airport, and I say goodbye, and I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, I got a layover here, and I come into Vegas, and the first thing I see is a bar and slot machine. And I'm like, Jesus, what's going on here? And then I see the girls with my name, and they take me to the place, and I get strip searched. They take my phone, they do everything. They put me into where the nurses are, so I wouldn't detox. But moving forward with that place, it was supposed to be a first responder place, or part of it was supposed to be first responder place, and there was only one first responder there, and then it was me, and then he left, and it was just me. And I went to a couple of meetings there, and I met, it was more like I was just talking about it in the gym today. I was like, yeah, when I went to rehab, I stayed with first responders, not the general population. I hate to say general pop, but that's what it's called. But Vegas wasn't it for me. It didn't. It gave me the outlook on what rehab would look like, and a little taste of it. Some of the things like, painting what's on your mind about addiction and stuff, that helped me. Seeing my therapist helped me a little bit. She got me into talking about EMDR. And then, I met a couple of people, and I kept in touch with them, but they were triggers for me, so I had to cut loose with them. And then I came home. I came home, and what happened was I came home humble, and I thought I was fixed, and something triggered me. And I think it was people who really didn't understand me and really didn't understand what I was going through. They were like, so you better, you got this. And then I started to say, yeah, I got it. And that's the worst thing you can say. I didn't get it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask something, Pete. Because this is where, and you bring up a great point, because when we transition out of the job, right, we lose our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You did your rehab stint. I did my rehab stint. And the big thing after it, and they'll tell you to, but they don't set it up. When you leave that 30-day or 60-day rehab, right, when you come back to your home, when you come back to your neighborhood, were there any resources there to go back into a therapeutic program? Or did you just say, like you said, I thought I was fixed?
Yeah.
I came back and I walked right into the shift, and I went right back on the road. I went to a couple of AA meetings, which they weren't the AA meetings I needed. And the reason why I say this is I didn't need the, again, civilian
Right.
AA meetings. I needed a first responder meeting. I didn't know about it. I didn't do the research on it. So I went a couple of years and with that, and then I relapsed, and I relapsed hard. Again, like I said, calling out sick and stuff like that. It came to a point where my lieutenant at the time, he was a shift commander. I had called him up. I called him up 5 minutes before the shift was going to start. And I said, boss, I can't make it in. I'm not feeling well. And he goes, are you kidding me? And I said, no, I'm not kidding you. They're my SL days. I do what I want with them. And I hung up the phone. Well, half hour later, he knocks on my door. I open up the door. I let him come in. We talk a little bit. He says, hey, what's going on? You look like crap. There's, cans and booze all over the place. I said, no, I'm fine. I'm just going through some things. I made up a lie. which I had to make up another lie to make up another lie. And he left and he's like, all right, I need you back to work tomorrow. I said, okay. So I drank the rest of the day and I went to bed and then I went to work the next day. The process or the way everything unfolded was I fell back into the isolation. I fell back into going through the liquor store roulette. It got to a point where I was being enabled, and I'm not making fun of anybody, or I don't want to disrespect anybody that I work with, but certain guys enabled me. So I went to a gas station. I used to play lotto at a gas station, and I had one tied on, and I drove there, and I went there, and I went to the liquor store, and for some reason I went back to that same gas station, I guess to buy potato chips or something like that. But I went as I got back in the car, I passed out. The car wasn't started. Keys were on the next to the bag of booze or whatever, and next thing you know, I'm being pulled out by one of my guys on the 4 to 12 shift. So what happened was somebody saw me pass out or was still there. It must have been the guy who owned the gas station. And when you say the plate number, it's registered to me, and I work in the town that I passed out in. So who's coming? The whole 4 to 12 shift was there. Right. They showed up. They thought the worst. He pulls me out. They put me in a cruiser. They drive me down the street to my place. They put me in bed. I got 9 cops in my bedroom telling me, don't you leave. You need to change. You need to go back to rehab. And they're preaching to me. I needed to go then, right there. But they didn't. I remember one officer, he's standing in the background. He's like, yeah, just give him McDonald's. He'll be fine. I'm like, come on. But, and then that didn't even spark anything. And then my boss, he became, the lieutenant went into internal affairs. And he got a phone call from the deputy chief, and he's like, listen, the chief doesn't know Pete the way we know him, the good cop. Somebody needs to check on him. He's going at it. So he came back to my house. He knocked on the door. I let him in. I looked like shit. He called my therapist, Dr. Stacy, and he's like, hey, is he good to stay by himself? She says, yes, we'll check on him, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me a hug. He walked away. As he walked out, I gave him the middle finger. And basically, right then and there, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to drink. I went and drank again. And then the next day, my therapist and my sergeant were banging on my door at like 8:15 in the morning. I go down the stairs. I look like death. And all I heard was, Pete, I want the old Pete back. My sergeant started crying. My therapist was already on the phone with a place in Pennsylvania. I started crying. I told him I want to get better. And it just, that's when I hit, I guess it was my bottom, and I went away. But here's my question, and for everybody who's watching, why did I open the door twice? And, I mean, you guys know the answer. That was my cry for help. Yeah. That was my cry for help. I opened it up twice. So I went away in 2000 because I'm 6 years sober now. And when I went away, I went to Marworth in Pennsylvania, and they had an awesome first responder program. I heard from other first responders who were retired. I was with other first responders from EMS to fire to dispatchers to everything. We were all there together. It was just the same story, just different agency. And I needed that structure. And the structure that Marworth gave me, and teaching me to own what I've done, and take extreme ownership of my feelings and what I need to do to get better. I worked on that, and when I came home, Dr. Stacy, she helped me get a couple of AA meetings and work on stuff like that. And then we started to do what is we talked about earlier before we went on, what's actually underneath the drinking. What is the problems underneath?
Yeah.
Well, I know you probably want to take a break, and we'll leave this on a cliffhanger. The reason you opened up the door twice, and we'll jump on that when we get back. I guess, Sam, are you ready to take a break, or I didn't know what?
Yeah, I've got my coffee sitting right here. We're taking a quick coffee break because, Pete, what you're saying is, I'll say it's a familiar story for a lot of first responders, and certainly Ben and Amanda Holmes, who founded East Texas Legends Coffee. Ben was a Marine in the Marines, and he also served as a law enforcement officer. And he had to overcome a lot. He overcame PTSD and found his purpose in ranching. Relocating to an East Texas ranch, they identified a need for a local coffee brand. Now they are opening their first coffee shop in Lindale, Texas, rooted in faith, family, and community. Their mission: inspire purposeful conversations over coffee. Drink coffee, be legendary. Go to etxlegendscoffee.com. Use promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merch. That's etxlegendscoffee.com. Promo code BADGE for 15% off. They'll ship anywhere, so you can do that. And you might as well just hold your phone up to the screen right now, hover over that QR code, and it'll take you right to the site. Don't forget to enter that promo code BADGE when you check out. This is some of their great merch.
Not merch, coffee though.
Yeah, coffee. I will say how every almost every company runs on feedback and reviews, right? So one of our good friends, I gave him a pound of coffee, and it happened to be a limited edition called Cozy Cane. And he called me the next day and said, well, Sam, I'm in the people fixer business. And he said, with this coffee, this stuff could cure depression on its own. So if that is not a testimonial of why you need some East Texas Legends coffee, everybody, go on over there, etxlegendscoffee.com. Again, use promo code BADGE for 15% off. They'll even do 5-pound bags if you're like me and Steve, because we got them right there. It's on the shelf. So special order, but get it now. So Pete, John, you were leaving us on a cliffhanger. So when you pick up with
especially with addiction, and you said you had the 8 cops, and this every time. You just sparked something in my head. You had 8 cops in your apartment saying, you need help, this, that, and the other thing. And the reason you open the door twice, and this is why a badge of honor is a badge of honor, and this is why we do what we do, and we talk about what we talk about, is because we want to further the education and build more resources. Probably each one of those cops had, yes, you need help. Yes, you need help. What else could they do? They didn't probably have the resources, the knowledge, or the ability to say, I'm getting you into a program right now. And if those cops had that ability to do that, I am sure 100% one of them would have picked you up out of bed and said, we're going right now.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to keep thriving for. We have to give these officers, they have the ability to arrest people. We have to give them the ability to lift people up, support them, and say, right now, not tomorrow, because tomorrow may be too late. We have to do this now. And, thank God you got to open up that door twice, because there are a lot of officers and a lot of first responders out there that showed those signs that didn't have that chance to open up that door again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, one of the things when I came back from rehab, I was working with another officer of mine. He worked the 4 to 12 shift, and he was drinking a lot, and I was working with him, and we enabled him. He would show up to the back lot. Either we'd leave him there and keep an eye on him, and we put him on the schedule, whatever, or we, 2 guys, one guy take his truck with him home, drive him home, and then make sure he's home, leave him there, and not be at work. And we would run the shift one short. We basically enabled him. It was a Sunday morning, and I went to a robbery, and that already occurred. And I get a phone call from my shift commander saying, "Hey, you need to get to the hotel in town, blah blah blah." And he goes, "So and so's got his firearm with him." I was like, "Okay." Jumped in the car, lights and sirens, met the sergeant there. and basically walked the outside of the hotel room, and the window shades were open, and I see him laying on the bed. To this day, I can tell you, I walked in the room. I can tell you, where the bottle of booze was, where the firearm was. I can tell you in detail. And I basically just looked at him and I said, I failed you. And, my sergeant was like, you didn't fail him, this, that, and other thing. And he tried to make sense of it. And basically we enabled him. It's basically, you should have just said, like, listen, you're going now and that's it. And you're going to do the 30 days and you're not leaving. And we're going to make sure of that. It's kind of hard, when you talk about it that way, because the person's got to want help too. We talk about ownership of your own stuff, and you gotta want to take ownership of it. I came back and, EMDR was introduced to me because I had so much on my plate. I had so much pushed down that it started to spill over out of a bucket, or, and I needed to release it. And EMDR actually helped me. Dr. Stacy did the EMDR with me. We started with some small things and worked on some bigger things. And basically it's just me resetting my brain, and, controlling how I'm going to feel and what my brain is going to process. It's amazing what it does. But, I also, with the department, with the peer support team, I have 2 guys now who are coordinators. They're doing a great job. We're in peer support training now. We're doing classes. We're doing meetings. We're actually going to visit my old, it's like going to school, going back to the rehab I went to in Pennsylvania, just to show them this is the place. There are other places, but this is what I saw, just the structure of it. I'll give you a little bit of structure. Is they take your cell phone, strip search, whatever. They take everything. They give you a piece of paper. They tell you, write down phone numbers and names that you want. And I said, okay, well, I need my cell phone. They're like, nope. There's 8 pay phones on the wall. You had to wait, like I'll say it, like you're in prison. You had to wait for the next guy to go, and then wait for the next guy to go. But there was structure. There was dinner, there was lunch, there was hanging. We had to raise the flag. The first responders had to lower the flag, and that's what I needed to work on, was my structure. The other thing I worked on was the circle of friends, and I lost a lot of friends because my priority was my sobriety. And I kept my friends close to me who understood my sobriety, who understood what I was going through. I mean, I still like the outside friends. I just don't hang out with them. And if I can be honest with you, I don't hang out with cops anymore. I don't. I'm 27 years on the job. I don't. If I go out to dinner with them or something like that, at a certain point in time, I'm like, I got to go. Because the other thing I did was I got away from the drama. I can't do the drama of the job anymore. It's like, no, this is the negativity that caused me to drink. And this is going to cause you to have a bad career. If I can tell, everybody here, get your peer support, get your the admin to believe in it. Our admin believes in it. Get guys on the team that you will talk to and have them, get them to do knowledge of peer support. My sponsor, he is a cop. He's a midnight guy. He's great. He's full of energy. He's a Marine. I love him to death. I see him every morning. We laugh, we giggle. The energy's there. And then I have my workout guys. I got my trainer I used to have was his name was James. His model was generating greatness. This was a couple of years ago. Now I have my best friend Lee. He's a big, massive piece of meat, and he just beats the shit out of me every time we work out. And I have my other guys in the gym, and that's my structure. I go to work, I do my job, I serve the community, I have a good time doing it, and then I go to the gym, and then I go home, I cook, and then I go to bed. I do have I do have a life outside my house. You know, I do. I'm not, you know, boring.
Well, you know, you made a great point, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. You do have to make some hard choices, and you know, self-care is something that no first responder knows about because we're always giving. We give from a giving heart, but those life changes are hard, but they're meaningful, and that, you know, you deserve those.
Yeah,
you deserve to live well. You deserve to be healthy, and if you have to cut out some people that are not going to accept that or are going to enable you to drink or bring in that drama, you have to distance yourself for your own well-being.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, we were talking about it offline earlier. You know, that cumulative, all those things that started from when I was a child. Yeah. You know, that just carried. You know, I wasn't and I'll bring it up, is my family. I wasn't allowed to feel. I wasn't allowed to talk about bad things. It only had to be good things about the family. So whatever traumas I had as a police officer or growing up or this and that, I wasn't allowed to talk about that. So I held that in. And that was how I was. Listen, my parents loved me. They raised me. I love them for it. And it's just that you were taught a certain way, and then all of a sudden you go into a career where you're seeing more stuff than the regular civilian. And then where do I put that? Where do I go ask for help? Well, I was told EAP is no good. Well, now I'm in Danbury, now peer support. Now I have a therapist, which I believe in. And, you know, I tell everybody, you got to figure out, like John, like we talked about, the underneath. What's the root? The drinking and the addiction, that's a cover. That's just medicine for us. Mm-hmm. You know, and then you got to find your group of people. You know, I have a special person. I have one or two people that I hold dear to me. You know, I can call them up at any time. They'll be there for me. I have a couple other people, you know, listen, some of my dispatchers, they know when I'm off. They hear it in my voice. You know, I'll get a phone call. Hey, what's up? Nothing. Lieutenant yelled at me, whatever, you know, but you have to have an outlet outside the job. You have to say, listen, the jobs that I leave that building, headquarters, that stays there. I go about what I need to do. And self-care is one of them. Eat right, go to the gym, read a book, go for a walk. I don't know, pet your dog, but you have to take care of yourself.
It's creating the structure that is ultimately going to support you when you walk out the door every single day. Because if you don't have that, and that's what you learn, you know, in behind the closed doors, I'll say, because if you don't have that, you're going to fall right back into your old ways, because that's all you know if you don't create something new.
Yeah. You know, and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, the drinking was the drinking. It was, you didn't know what I went through and what I was holding, you know, you didn't know, you know, hey, on such a date in Danbury, you know, I was dealing with a guy with medical condition and went into crisis, and we were going to take him. He asked for his wash bag, and inside his wash bag was a 9mm, and he pointed it right at my head. Okay, what normal person has that every day?
Right. Yeah, it's a wake up call. You've walked people through a lot. Pete, you're very generous, because you before the show I asked, you know, you've got a great story, you've got a huge heart, and if people want to reach out to you, what would be the best way? And I think we decided that LinkedIn would be best. So I'm going to put up right here. If you're listening and like Pete's shirt says, "Are you okay?" and John's wearing "You are not alone." If I'm out of the club, I'm repping a badge of honor here. You know, reach out and go through Pete's LinkedIn, so just linkedin.com. But Pete goes by Peter on LinkedIn, so it's Peter Elste. For those of you listening on your favorite podcast app, it's ELSTE. Is how you spell his last name. So you can just type it in, and it'll be in the show notes as well for the podcast. But that would be the best way to reach Pete. And he said, Pete, you said reach out. So anybody out there?
Yeah, I mean, just one last thing. I mean, John, your shirt, you're not alone. We're not alone. All first responders, you know, we're worth it. You know, If we're not going to do the job, then who does it? You know,
Exactly.
put, if you feel that somebody's not okay, just ask them, and you have to be strong enough to ask them. And if they tell you, if they tell you to go pound sand, okay, then go pound sand.
Let me just give a quick follow up on that before we, because we talk about this in our workshop, and we're all conditioned. This is where the conditioning comes. Hey, Pete, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. All right, well, I'll see you after shift. But I know you're not okay. It's the follow-up questions.
Right.
Yep.
We can't take okay for granted anymore. We gotta be able to be the bigger person and say, come on, let's sit down. Let's talk. I'm here. Cry, whatever it is. You be the vulnerable one. We can't accept I'm fine anymore. We can't accept I'm okay anymore. If we know they are not, we can't just walk away. So, that's what you do, Pete. You know it. When someone says they're fine or okay, you're going to take that extra step. We need all our law enforcement, all our first responders to also take that step. You'll be changing a life in a big way.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, John. Yeah, Pete, we thank you so much for coming on, sharing more of your story, and going deep. It was very powerful. I hope people reach out to you, and we will be in touch.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome. I'll stay in touch with you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, man. 7-3.
7-3.
Use guys. I'm just going to stand over here and listen. I'll press record and listen to your voices. All right. Stay safe, Pete. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. That's great. I seriously, listening to the two of you speak, I'll just shut up because it's awesome. And then you guys get to, talk about the old days. So that's great as well.
The 7-3 precinct, like we were back, we bordered each other, 7-3 and a 7-7. And the precinct that he's in, man, very, very dangerous precinct. I mean, homicide rate was through the roof back in his day. It is drug-infested Brownsville, Brooklyn, man. It was gangs, drugs, projects. It was not an easy task to work the 7-3. It's like the 7-3, 7-5, and 7-7 in Brooklyn were the three worst precincts in Brooklyn North, and it was scary times.
Yeah, well, New York is still making their own name in terms of not being fun for police now. You guys, I'll say you guys go way back. You guys go way back. We've got a friend, Joe, and his wife, Liz Bartholomew, that run First Responders Retreats. They are at firstrespondersretreat.org. They have got a retreat coming up end of September, beginning of October, and you can get yourself registered. Go be with other first responders. It's like peer support in nature, in beautiful Wisconsin, Northern Lights, the whole thing. So firstrespondersretreat.org. We cannot do what we do without our amazing partners at Carry the Load. We talk about them every week. If you go to abadgeofhonor.org, there's a pop-up right now. It's almost Memorial May, but you don't have to wait to make a difference in the life of a first responder and a veteran or a family member of, and give them the piece of who they lost. And tell them that you remember. So if you go to abadgeofhonor.org, you'll see how to either join our team and participate in Dallas over the Memorial Day weekend. It's the Sunday, Monday, or give a donation. And it sounds so cliche to say every dollar helps, but I will tell you it actually does, because 93% of everything donated comes right back into the nonprofit partners like us. So it goes right back into programming, so you can feel proud, number one, that you're giving to an organization that has just raised so much over the last 15 years that they've been doing this. But just like you heard the testimony from Pete and the difference that was made from where he went in Pennsylvania, we have got nonprofit partners across the U.S. that do programs just like Pete went, that do programs like we do. The point is, we're saving lives. We can't do it alone. We need to do it together. We need to be part of an amazing community, and that's where Carry the Load comes in. So again, at badgeofhonor.org, the pop is right there. donate what you can. We greatly appreciate it. And, you know, for all of your needs, whether it's peer support, you want to start a program, you need to connect with somebody, just go on our website, connect with us. We have a multitude of partners and resources. You are not alone in this. And all it takes is one click and you're right on the page. So we can help guide you through that. But please take a look at our partners and resources. To all the first responders out there, thank you for what you do every single day, keeping our communities safe. To all of our veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that lets John and I do a show like this every single week. And to our active duty personnel spread out across the globe, stay strong. We're praying for your safe return, and thank you for keeping our shores safe. John, take us home.
I'm just going to echo what Pete said. Education, family is very important. Self-care is very important. Take the time needed. Take a half hour, an hour, whatever you need throughout your day to do some self-care. Educate your family. Do not hold things in. And if you feel that you need help, chances are you need help. Go get it. Don't be afraid of it. Until next week, peace.
Take care, everybody.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.